Hey folks, it's Spitz at Digital Pharma East in Philly 2012. It's my pleasure to have Kerri Sparling from 6 Until Me, blogger extraordinaire. The diabetes space is, you've got a chronic condition, folks need to monitor and maintain their therapy on a daily, almost an hourly basis. It lends itself personally to peer-to-peer engagement and support, and obviously social media in the space has been exploding. Probably a number one segment for disease states in terms of that engagement is diabetes. And in ways, you've been an advocate and spokesperson through your blog and all of your efforts through that. Can you tell the audience a little bit about your personal evolution in terms of blogging and how that's expanded to the great stuff you're doing right now?
And I hate to have made the face at spokesperson, but no one is a spokesperson for a disease. You never want to say, oh, I am the poster child for anything. No way, absolutely not. But I'm happy to be an advocate for people with diabetes because I feel, as I was growing up with it, I was completely by myself. I didn't know anyone else who had it. As an adult, I didn't have access to other people who were doing real life things with it. I kept Googling and finding reasons why people were dying from it, which was the truth, but I needed to find people who were actually living with diabetes. So that's actually what prompted me to jump into the social media space, because I needed to find another 20-something who was going on dates and looking for jobs and trying to find cute shoes and I don't know, it sounds superficial, but it was, actual life. So that was what I was looking to find for myself. And by putting my story out there, I started to find the community I was so desperately seeking. So instead of just feeling like a soloist with diabetes, I became part of this really huge online choir.
Yeah, and in terms of your involvement, even over the course of the last few years, healthcare social media has changed so much. It used to be kind of fringe and marginal. People really didn't want to share too much about their personal information, too much about their condition. And as the medium has grown, people have a higher level of comfort. They want higher levels of engagement, and they really want to reach out. Have you noticed that state change occur over the last few years? And how does that really help you do your advocacy and your outreach?
Well, connecting with other patients is of the utmost importance to me, but also knowing that the people who are developing the drugs that I use and the devices that I use, knowing that they're listening to what we as patients want is so, so helpful. They can't better serve us unless they know what it is we're looking for in the first place. So I think that engagement is really important.
You bring up an interesting topic, which is introducing branded communication, specifically with regard to treatment options. Diabetics, as we know, of course, have a lot of devices that they need to do. Glucose monitoring is obviously a central portion of a day-to-day, hourly kind of measurement. Your participation in terms of being an advocate and a helpful hand, in a sense, to these treatment solutions in a contextual kind of way is very, very interesting. And in ways, it's blazing a trail for advocates within the space to be able to provide that kind of information to patients in a way that patients respect, can trust, and understand.
It's a lot easier to trust anecdotal information from a fellow patient than it is just from some pharma website. You have to understand that the person living with the condition wants to hear from other people who get them, not who are just trying to sell to them. So it's important to have a really trusted, high level of integrity, kind of sharing patient stories. That's part of what resonates for us as a community. So I don't think you can sell to us without really understanding us. And I hate the concept of selling to us. It makes it sound like it's their industry, but this is our life. These are our lives. So, it's important to recognize the fact that when they go home at the end of the day, these people in big pharma with big finger quotes, they go home and they get to leave diabetes behind for the most part. We bring it everywhere we go as patients. So it's very important for them to know that there is no day off from this, and this is something that they need to understand.
Absolutely, and as pharma's medical device has expanded, the quality of life for diabetics has qualitatively improved over the years. Non-invasive or less invasive treatments, less invasive monitoring devices. So ultimately, the patient benefit in terms of improving that quality of life is really what it's all about. And you, as that helping hand, could really kind of guide that conversation and steer them in directions, if nothing else, to create a transparent and open dialogue about these solutions.
We want better. The better care that companies can take care of people with diabetes, the better care we can take of ourselves, and everybody gets to live longer and more happily. So I don't see that as a loss anywhere.
Oh, absolutely. It seems a win-win. How do you ever encounter some potential for conflict of interest? Do you have patients or other folks who kind of maybe wonder about your own motivation or the potential for that kind of conflicts in terms of representing one particular treatment option over another?
I think it's important for bloggers, but I mean anybody. I think it's important for people in general to disclose their biases. So I personally think that I have the most lovely daughter. People might not agree, but I need to have that out front and out there. I'm going to find that I have the nicest mom. You know what I'm saying? Like, if people know where my biases lie, then it's very easy for them to see kind of the truth of my statements, that they are tempered by something. So I use a particular insulin. I use a particular kind of insulin pump. I use a particular kind of continuous glucose monitor. And if I have a relationship with these companies, that's important for my readers to know so that they can see my words through the appropriate filter.
Absolutely. And where do you think it's going? Personally, where are you headed? You know, it started out as just kind of a personal whim to share your story and to reach out to people, sharing your needs and concerns. And now it's really evolved into this vibrant community, in a sense. What are some of the next steps for you personally, and where do you think patient bloggers are headed as social media blows up, as mobile goes wild, and the whole thing is kind of the wild, wild west of digital right now?
Well, blogging comes with its own covered wagon, so I guess we all have our own. But I think that a lot of bloggers continue to share their story for the same reason that they started. It might have been on a whim, but the whim continues to be the reason why we're in this. We need to connect with other patients who really understand what we're going through. And so that storytelling, I think, is helping move things forward in other industries, but the root reason of why we are doing what we do remains the same. So companies wanting to get involved and patients kind of taking their online stories and their online meetups and taking them offline, that's just an extension of that same root reason.
Absolutely, and bridging the gap between the patient, the physician, and then the treatment provider, because we know, again, pharma, medical device companies often come with stigma, and the opportunity to reach out directly to constituents is so powerful and inviting. It not only removes that stigma, but it really gives patients information that they need and trust in order to make those decisions.
I mean, I can say that diabetes also comes with a certain amount of stigma, as does any other health condition, so we're not as different as people like to paint us.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. Kerri Sparling with 6 Until Me. It Spits at Digital Pharma East 2012. Looking at the future of healthcare social and the diabetes space with Kerri. Thank you.